Warning, this content may be disturbing to some audiences. Subscribe, if you dare. I'm a lawyer and my client got arrested for writing "I was married to Satan" on social media. Hey everybody, welcome to AskReddit. People ask Reddit. Lawyers and police officers of Reddit, what is the dumbest reason you've seen someone get arrested? Number 1. In the 1980s I was a detective in Cape Town. One day while driving in Woodstock we saw a group of people chasing a man, so we assisted. Turned out he was suspected of stealing from a passenger in a third-class train carriage. Those are very crowded with many passengers standing close together. In his pocket he had a pay envelope from a local fish packing place, containing no money but a piece of carton in which was written, "Ha ha, liquor Jevon, Afrikaans for LOL caught you good." The people giving chase insisted that he had pickpocketed someone on the train and jumped out at Woodstock station. Long story short, we traced the owner of the pay envelope. His name and employee number were on the envelope, who said that after being pickpocketed twice before and losing a week's wages, he hid his money in his sock and made a decoy with the top of a pack of 30 cigarettes on which he wrote the Afrikaans taunt. The culprit was convicted of theft of an envelope valued at 15 cents and ended up with a criminal record. Can't recall what the sentence was, unfortunately. Number 2. Commenter. Oh God, where to start? The $30 worth of knickknacks someone stole from Walmart. The guy who robbed the gas station down the road from his grandma's, where the teller recognized his voice and called him out by name. The assault with a weapon where the weapon was a frozen poultry. My personal favorite. Or the nurse who decided to use her client's debit card as petty cash. Probably the last one. Woman was 5 years from retirement and will never work as a nurse again. Person B. I get sent to Walmart for a cage run, meaning loss prevention caught a shoplifter, has all the paperwork for me, and all I have to do is play jail Uber and fill out a booking slip. While I'm on my way there, the LP guy calls my cell phone. I did a lot of these runs and knew all the guys pretty well, and says I don't know if dispatch told you, but she's got a service dog with her. Great. So I get there and there's 400 pounds of stereotypical Walmart customer in a riding cart in the loss prevention office, holding a effing chihuahua with a shirt that says service dog written with a Sharpie. I explained to her that she's going to jail for shoplifting, but since she's been cooperative with LP, I'll let her call a friend to come and pick up her dog, otherwise I have to call animal control, and he goes to the pound. She proceeded to argue with me that he's a service dog so he can go everywhere she does because she needs him to keep her calm due to her PTSD. I did not go down that rabbit hole, sorry. And says she has all the paperwork from the Americans with Disabilities Act in her purse to prove it. I get the little card she carries out of her purse and read to her. This federal law applies to all businesses open to the public, including restaurants, hotels, taxis and shuttles, grocery and department stores, hospitals and medical offices, theaters, health clubs, parks, and zoos. And since jail is not on the list, she's not taking the damn dog. She finally calls a friend and goes into hysterics saying the police are trying to arrest her dog and she needs her to come and get him now. Then cries and cuddles with the dog while practically hyperventilating for the next 10 minutes until the friend shows up. Friend gets the dog and leaves. The woman immediately calms down and is super cooperative for the rest of the time while I get her out of the riding cart, into 2 sets of handcuffs since one was not going to reach all the way across her back, and shoehorn her into the back of a Chevy Impala. She stays calm all the way to jail and I'm thinking the whole time that her dog is useless since she was much calmer after the dog was gone. The kicker to the whole story? She was shoplifting clothes for the dog. Number 3. Work for a smaller county. Last fall we got a group of people coming me down from a nearby city to rob a hemp farm, thinking it was weed growing along the highway. Several of the crack team of bandits were arrested and lodged. The kicker is it was explained explicitly how dumb it was, that you can't even get high of the stuff, but the very next weekend they came back down and tried to pull it off again. Only this time the farmer was home and ended up holding them all at gunpoint till we arrived. Number 4. I was a seasonal officer at a beach resort. One day I was stuck in the substation working on a bunch of reports when I heard another seasonal officer and a senior officer get dispatched to a hotel for unknown reasons. 2 hours later and I'm still doing paperwork. In fairness, I took a break for lunch, and both of the officers come in with arms full of large brown paper evidence bags, like the 2 feet tall ones you put groceries in. They start pulling out the most varied amount of drugs I've seen ever. Something like 2 large vacuum bags of good weed, not the dry stuff, 2 pages of LSD tabs, a gallon bag of shrooms and a bunch more. Apparently this 19-year-old had come to the beach to deal. He had paid for a few nights at this hotel. Well, he missed his checkout time and the hotel needed the room, so the housekeeper let herself. She undid the covers and found this buffet of drugs. The kid ended up showing up while the officers were searching his hotel room and they got him. Number 5. I used to work at a juvenile detention center. We had a local police department bring in a 10-year-old boy for hitting his house with a broomstick. I think he was charged with being an unruly child, which basically means he wasn't listening to the reasonable requests of his parents. The parents most likely have a say in whether or not the child goes to jail. In that instance, 10 years old is normally too young to have ended up in our facility, and requires special permission from the juvenile court judge, so the parents must have demanded the arrest. At least in Ohio, unruly is just a different classification of crime, such as felony or misdemeanor. Unruly basically means a crime that only a child can be guilty of. Truancy from school and not listening to parents are considered unruly under the law. Number 6. Lawyer. Client was arrested because he got drunk one night, headed home, forgetting he had just moved out of this particular house. Confused when his key didn't work, but too drunk to realize his mistake. Smashed a window to get in, ate some chips, then realized his mistake when he noticed all the furniture that wasn't his. He was charged with break-and-enter, and larceny for eating the chips. Number 7. Had one of our state troopers bring a guy into the county jail for failure to yield at green light. It was a $20 ticket, but the guy kept telling the trooper to arrest him, so he did. Dude cried like a baby when he got booked in. Trooper called his bluff. He got out in about 6 hours. Number 8. A guy was in lockup all weekend, before arraignment. He was arraigned on charges of stealing a single bottle of barbecue sauce. A whole weekend in jail, just for a single bottle of barbecue sauce, and that's not even the sentence. It's before arraignment. Feel bad for the guy. Turns out he also had an arson hold. Apparently he burns down buildings to make his barbecue. Lol. Number 9. My office represented Sally 10 plus years ago, prior to me joining the firm. She's currently in her late 70s. Sally has a massive drinking problem. She's had a few DUIs and currently does not have a driver's license as a result of several license suspensions. But that doesn't stop her from drinking or driving. She calls my office randomly, at different times including first thing in the morning when my office opens, and is always drunk. I've had the misfortune of picking up the phone when she called several times, prior to us having caller ID. She would talk and talk and talk and you couldn't get her off the phone. She talks about anything and everything. Occasionally it would be about her latest legal issues, but more often than not she'd act like we were her friends and she was calling to chat. My secretary would put her on hold sometimes and 10 minutes later take her off hold and she'd still be talking. We tell her every time that we don't represent her anymore and she needs to speak to her current lawyer. To no avail. Anyway, her antics. One particular incident involved her getting into a car accident and fleeing the scene. Undoubtedly to avoid another DUI, but she's now a convicted felon for not stopping at the scene of the accident. When she's not driving, she's drinking in her home. She then walks up and down the street of her neighborhood yelling. Sometimes she forgets to put her clothes on all the way when she does this. She'll bang on her neighbors' doors, whether it be 1 p.m. or 1 a.m. The neighbors call the cops and the police come, who know her very well, and she'll try to run away. They've cited her for all kinds of things: public drunkenness, disorderly conduct, defiant trespass, for being in her neighbors' yards in the middle of the night after being told 100 times not to, harassment, and even abuse of the 911 system for repeatedly calling to have her neighbors arrested for yelling at her as she drunkenly stumbled down the street in the middle of the night. And now to my favorite incident. When she tries to run from the police, there isn't much of a chase. Being in her 70s, she's not too fast. The police just met her at her home with a citation. Well, one night the police come around the corner and there she is in the middle of the street drunk. She immediately runs off. The police get out of their car and can see from the light of their flashlights that she's pissed herself. They follow the urine trail all the way back to her house and knock on the door. She answers as if nothing is wrong, as if they didn't just see each other in the street 2 minutes before, as if she didn't have the piss stain going down her pant leg. And they hand her another citation. It's been about 2 years since she called my office. She's now living with a family member in another state. She told me she was chased out of town by the police. What she means by that is they wouldn't stop citing her for her drunken misconduct. Number 10. Defense attorney here had a client who got pulled over for having a headlight out or something. Watching the body cam footage from his arrest, the cop was talking to him and asked why he smelled weed. Client goes, "Oh, it's probably this joint here," and hands the thing to the cop. Number 11. I'm a lawyer and my client got arrested for writing "I was married to Satan" on social media. He had an intervention order on him from his ex-wife, and since he'd only had one wife, she was the only ex, meaning he was talking about her, and the intervention order didn't allow him to talk about her in any way. He was in custody for 48 hours and had to go to court 2 weeks later. Ridiculous. Number 12. I worked for the federal prosecutor's office for a while in law school. A young guy, just turned 17, got kicked out of his house as his mom said she couldn't afford him. So he goes and gets an apartment that is $800 per month by himself. He gets a part-time job, but that doesn't cut it. So he starts getting payday loans to cover the rest. Obviously that creates a terrible situation, and within 2 or 3 months this kid is in thousands of dollars of debt. So, he decides to rent every bank heist movie that he can find and watches them and plans a bank robbery. He goes to a small town bank away from the city and brings a piece of wood that he shoves in a hoodie pocket to somewhat make it look like he has a gun. He slides a note to the bank teller that says he has a gun and to give him all their bills except the $100 bills, because apparently one of the movies said those are traceable but the others weren't. The clerk empties her drawer besides the $100 bills. And this guy, who by the way is not wearing a mask and is also wearing a very distinct shirt, takes just that one drawer of cash and runs. He makes it about a couple miles before the police catch him. They seize the cash and count it. He was running away with $127 in cash from the drawer. The bank teller had taken the $20 bills out of her drawer. So there were only $1s, $5s, and $10s. Make sure to share your personal story in the comments below and have the opportunity to be featured in a future video. Also, if you like these topics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button to continue seeing more content like this every day. See you next time.